Okay, we are good to go.
All right. This is the start of the board meeting. Call to order. And if we can have a flag salute. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Open Public Meetings Act statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies, at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Board of Education caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Augusta, Branchville, and Sussex post offices, and the notice sent to the New Jersey Herald, the Star Ledger, and the clerk of the boroughs of Branchville and Sussex, and the townships of Frankfurt, Lafayette, and Wantage. Mission statement. High Point Regional High School, in partnership with staff, family, and community, is dedicated to the quest for individual excellence. By fostering high standards of achievement, we prepare students to become responsible and productive members of a diverse society. Fran, if we could have a roll call?
Surely. Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Anklis?
Here.
Mr. Arnold?
Here.
Dr. Carrazza?
Present.
Mr. Dunn? Ms. Nugent?
Here.
Mr. Dona?
Here.
Dr. Kehoe?
Present.
Dr. Ripley?
Here.
And Ms. McStatton?
Executive session. A motion will be made that the High Point Regional High School Board of Education enter into executive session to provide an update on legal, personnel, superintendent, including the superintendent evaluation, and negotiations items, which are exempt from public participation pursuant to the New Jersey Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public when appropriate. Minutes of an executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene, in public session virtually at the conclusion of the executive session. It is not anticipated that any action will be taken in executive session. Do I have a motion to go to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing the motion unanimous, we're going to move to Dan?
I believe it's live now.
Yes, we're live now. I started it about 10 seconds ago.
Okay.
All right.
I
Do we have a
move that we return to public session.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing nobody opposed, we'll move on. The next item is unfinished business. Does anybody have any unfinished business to address? Seeing no unfinished business, we'll approve to approval of the minutes. Fran,
All right. The motion is to move the regular session minutes from May 19th, 2020, and the executive session minutes from May 19th, 2020.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay.
take a
All right.
roll
I have a
call.
roll call ready. Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Dr. Caraza,
Yes.
is Mr. Dunn back? No.
He will be in a minute.
Arnold,
Here?
Mrs. Nugent,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Sedona,
Yes.
and Dr. Kehoe.
Yes.
Okay, it's moved.
Okay, public comments section. At this point in time, we're going to move to public comments. It's for agenda items only, and in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, we will open the public comments for agenda items only at this time. Each person submitting the request should state their name and address. We'll read up to 3 minutes of their comments. Please be respectful and mindful of your comments are being recorded. So if I go to the public comments, excuse me. As this point in time, we do not have any public comments. I'm going to give it a minute or two. If anybody is on and would like to submit a public comment, now is the time to do it. Please remember to include your name and address, and for agenda items only. Well, we still don't have any public comments. So what I'm going to do is remind everybody that we will have another section at the end. If any comments come in after this, we'll include them in the second public comment section. So I'll move on to the presentations. I believe we're not doing student council or HPEA today. Is that correct, Dr. Ripley?
That is correct. Or it would appear to be correct. I have
Okay.
not been notified.
Then we'll move on. And the principal report we're not doing.
No, sir.
So we'll move on to curriculum and instruction. And Mr. Campbell, if you would give us your presentation, please.
Good evening. Mr. Yard, you're going to give me screen sharing capabilities, correct?
Yes, you should have the ability to.
All right. Okay, could you guys be so kind as to confirm that you can see the presentation?
I can see it.
Looks great.
You can see it. Fantastic. I will try and be expeditious as we move through these handful of items. So it's a pleasure to be back speaking with you. This is a very difficult time of year for our seniors, but it's made much less difficult by the work of our principal, assistant principals, and some others. If you didn't see it on social media, let me tell you that Mr. Talamay and Mr. Van Orden from our administrative team, along with Mrs. Van Orden, the senior class advisor, actually drove to every single senior's home to deliver their cap and gown. And then a week later, we had a photo op opportunity for parents and students in their caps and gowns, and it was absolutely fantastic. So really hats off to them and thank you for the tremendous job that they did in that endeavor. Right now, if you went to another Zoom channel, you would see an adult and community ed program going on. I want to thank Ms. McCarthy and I have mystery, I apologize. I have a typo on my presentation there. And Ms. Bodner-Keimel and Mr. Emma and Mr. Dexter for volunteering to reach out to the community and provide some valuable adult education in Google and Microsoft Office completely for free to members of our community. So we're proud to be offering that and really proud that our staff members stepped up and said they wanted to do this as really an act of giving back to the community. Last week, Mr. Drellick created a survey, and each day I send out an attendance question to staff and students. And so we use that survey to get feedback on remote learning from over 750 students and over 80 staff members. And I just want to show you a few of their responses. First question was about time. And on this Likert scale, you'll see that a 3 indicated an ideal amount. And here, a majority of both students and staff believed that the amount of time that they had to complete work was ideal. As far as how difficult that work is, once again, you saw both students and staff, a majority, indicate that the challenging nature of the work was ideal. Most effective method, not surprising, both staff and students gave very high remarks to live teacher presentations, which cuts at the core of why remote learning is so difficult. We're in the relationships business, and staff and students miss that connection. And when they were able to make that successful through virtual means, that obviously scored quite high. So I want to thank our counselors, our case managers, and most of all, our classroom teachers for, in about 48 hours notice, converting their craft and what they do every day with diligence and passion to a completely new paradigm. We have improvement to make should we ever be in this situation again. And there certainly were ups and downs, but overall, an A++, phenomenal job by our faculty in responding to the call and working extremely hard to make remote learning a success. So we're really appreciative of how hard that they worked. Several times a year, it's required that we present publicly on how we're doing with monitoring and reporting harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And Mr. Craig left the district in the fall, and Mr. Jim Rice is now our HIB specialist. I just want to make sure, as I often try and do, that the information being presented here this evening and our HIB information generally is publicly available on our website right off the front page. You'll see report sheets, policies, DOE guidance, free online trainings, and something that was just recently posted is, and it lags about a year, it's a recap of our self-assessment from 2018 and 19. So with the DOE, there is a lag, but regularly reports and results regarding our HIBs are posted publicly. Last year, our score was 74 out of 78. That was our own internal assessment of how well we were doing on this matter. And last year, our goals were to provide more training, number one, and to embed certain elements of empathy and certain rights into the curriculum. And as a result of that, I'm pleased to say that if you look at the 2019-2020, the second column, number 5, it's one of the lowest we've had. Now, granted, we were out of school for 10 weeks. I understand that that certainly has an impact on it, but the total number of cases investigated was cut roughly in half, and the number of confirmed HIB cases was at 5, one of the lowest incidences that we've had in the past 8 years. So we're very pleased that over the summer and the early fall, we'll be assessing ourselves again and determining what changes or what kind of staff development we want to embrace to try and continue to improve on this item. So that's an update on our HIB. On the agenda this evening, we're asking the board to reauthorize our program of studies for the current year and for next year. I've added language in there which is not legally necessary, but simply reiterates the fact that the DOE invests in us as a district significant autonomy to exercise discretion. And given remote learning, we will be making, we will be using that discretion in several instances. We can determine that a student has met the requirements of the standards, demonstrated proficiency, and award them credit with a flexible approach. And there will be instances where we will be reducing some requirements. For example, the New Jersey Department of Education requires students to earn 120 credits to graduate. High Point requires 135. There are some situations where students have particularly challenging circumstances. We may drop them to 125 or 120. But really, assisting students through this challenge and applying that flexibility is, as I stated earlier, something that our teaching staff and our counselors and our case managers have been tremendous with. So thank you for your authorization of that language that clarifies what we already legally are permitted to do. We will have instruction this summer. As of June 16th, all of that instruction will be virtual. I'm hopeful that a month from now or 2 months from now, our opportunities to embrace some traditional in-person instruction changes. Our extended school year, unfortunately, after careful consideration, will remain as planned, virtual. And our credit recovery program, which is on the agenda for consideration this evening, will also begin virtual, but we're hopeful that we can transition to a construct where perhaps later in July or in August, some students, whether it be for enrichment or credit recovery, can be in our building learning in a traditional setting. Few new sets of standards. Beginning in September for the 2020-2021 school year, new standards required by law, the Lgbtq inclusiveness standards, really require that we take a look at our teaching materials and broaden the inclusiveness of figures from the LGBTQ community and ensure that they're fairly and properly included in the curriculum, and that empathy and tolerance be properly addressed. So we're excited to be working on that new standard. And we also have a schedule for the revision of our core academic standards. Those will be put into place over a 2-year cycle, which begins a year from September. Just so if anyone is not aware, every 5 years, the core content or the skill standards are revised by the state, and we implement with due diligence any changes that are mandated. I believe this is my last slide, and perhaps one of the most important right now. I just want to publicly state that, particularly as a former civics teacher, this is a time where our society and our nation is going through tremendous challenges. And as teachers, we so wish that we could be present physically with our students in a traditional setting to guide their exploration and their growth and their grappling with these issues. We are embracing the issues virtually for another 2 days. Mr. Diodino, our humanities chairperson, has pushed out resources to tackle some of these issues. I believe Dr. Ripley's letter that was tweeted states from a philosophical standpoint how the district feels about these matters. And I think an increase in instructional activities that are relevant, that really have meaning for our students, that they feel connected in the classroom, will be a key goal next year to make sure that High Point students feel that they are not learning in this column and watching the news in that column, but rather that their learning experience embraces, prepares them for, and engages them with the tough questions we're facing. So that's a real goal for next year, is to make sure that our students really feel a connectedness to relevant events in the world. And as always, we have a tremendous social media footprint, and we encourage all of our stakeholders and the public to follow us and to see the great things that are happening at High Point. So that is my presentation.
Thank you, Mr.
I don't know
Camp.
if that was longer or shorter than normal, but you know.
Yeah, they always fly by so quick, it's hard to tell. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, board item. It's board objectives. For a year, we have 2 objectives. One is to review and update the Board of Education bylaws to ensure greater transparency and operations. With today's agenda, the completion of today's agenda, we'll have completed the review and update of all of the bylaws and completed that objective. The second objective is during the 2020 calendar year and over the next several years, the High Point Regional High School Board of Education shall complete 4 credits per year for a total of 16 in 4 years, so that they can be board certified from the New Jersey School Boards Association. We've had 4 last year. We have 3 of the 4 so far this year, with a 4th scheduled for September. So we're on schedule to complete that second objective. The next item, other business. Dr. Ripley.
Okay, so graduation discussion. So the state has stated the possibility, they've relaxed restrictions marginally. And so they've stated that you could have in-house or live graduation ceremony beginning of July 6th. The problem with that is there's no guarantee. It is anticipated that he will increase the ability to gather up to 500, but at this time that number does not exceed 100, I don't believe. Nevertheless, 500 would be ideal. We don't know that, and we won't know it. So we have spent a significant amount of time discussing what would be best, to have a July 6th or July 8th graduation, where we're not sure if we have to have 2 or 3 ceremonies or restrict access, or have it in July 30th. And that way you could have hopefully 1, if not 2, back-to-back celebrations / ceremonies. Now there's neither scenario is ideal. To have it on July 6th, it's more fresh in student minds and families, so they'd want to be more likely to attend. The problem is we don't know for sure that he will increase the number of attendance to 500. And that causes us problems. There was a discussion about, all right, just having students. I did not think that was something that would be widely appreciated by parents who have done, I know our students work hard, but as a parent, they've done quite a bit over the last 18 years, and I would think that they would want to be present if we were to have something. So I will tell you, it's a very close determination, but at this point, we are looking at a July 30th with a rain date of the 31st as a possible ceremony. Now, as I said, that's not ideal because likely there will be less attendance that late in July than there would be in early July. But the state has not made it definitive that they will increase the number of attendees. And so you're really rolling the dice by having it on July 6th. So that's where our position is now. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Ripley.
What, and the other matter is the reopening task force. Sorry. So I sent an email out to the staff stating that we were looking to initiate a reopening task force sometime in July. And I stated that I would be reaching out to community members. This is, I brought this up in April, and I'm bringing it up now that if anyone in the community is interested in participating in that task force, we want all stakeholders involved. And we're hopeful that we'll be able to meet live. If not, we would do so virtually, but we want input from all of our stakeholders. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions as to, well, will there be social distancing? Will there be masks? What will be will it be virtual? Will it be in-house? I will tell you that right now, the updated information that I have, much of the determination will be left to local districts. Right now, nothing is definitive, but up to this point, what I'm hearing is the likelihood that we will open in September without social distancing, so as not to have to break up our student body into 2 to 3 to 4 cohorts. So the only way to transport kids, if you social distance, would be break them up into cohorts and have only a portion of the kids come each day so as to maintain social distancing. If you're eliminating that requirement, you can have students in attendance. And then the question is, what about personal protective equipment or devices or masks? And right now, there's the possibility that those will not be required. So you're saying to yourselves probably, well, that changed awfully quickly. And so things have changed rather quickly. I'm not saying this is definitive, but this is the updated information that I have from meetings that I've been in attendance. So we don't have any official guidelines or directives. Remember, I told you previously that the guidelines from the state, which we had anticipated or were told we would have by now, which we do not, would be 4-pronged. The first would be requirements, mandates, what requirements. The second would be guidelines, which are not requirements. The third would be suggestions, and the fourth would be resources. We've not gotten that yet. We did put out a letter stating that the 2 of the models that the state was considering was Georgia and Delaware that were provided in a letter on our website. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to proceed with the hope of opening on September 1st. Now, that presents problems. What it will have to likely result in is giving some autonomy to families as to determine the viability of their own child or staff to be able to attend in person. And that's as yet to be determined. But my position is, as I've stated in letters, in-house, face-to-face, relationship-oriented education far exceeds virtual for high school students. And so whatever we can do to open the doors on September 1st to have our students in-house is what we're going to do. We're not going to be cavalier about anyone's health. And so theoretically, and please understand, I've just stated that we've not gotten the guidelines from the state yet. So this is me giving you a report based upon what information I have at this moment, which is none of which is definitive. Nevertheless, I think that this is the direction they're going. So I think that, look, theoretically, a district, a school filled 80% is far better than filled 0%, with 20% doing virtual and 80% being in-house. Far better, far preferable, far less regression in student learning, none of which is ideal, but it is an attempt to get back to normalcy, and that's where we're at now. And so if anyone's here in the community would like to participate in these stakeholder meetings for reopening task force, please reach out to me through our webpage and my email, which is on the email, is on the webpage, but it is also S as in Scott Ripley, RIPLEY at hpreginal.org. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ripley. If we can move on to action items. The first area that we're going to address is curriculum. Ms. Anderson, would you be so kind?
Yes, as I unmute myself. The first three items are that we are accepting reports on faculty attendance, student attendance, and suspension. Then I'm moving items 4 through 9. Item 4 being we approve the harassment, intimidation, and bullying report. Item 5 being that we recognize there are no curricular field trips listed for this time. Item 6, we approve professional development activities as listed on an attached roster. Item 7, we approve summer workshop days for the staff. It was given to us in a list. Number 8, that we approve the revisions that Mr. Campbell gave us for the 2019-20 and 2021 program of studies, including language supported by NJDOE guidelines. Number 9, that we approve the revised copy of the health-related closure plan that is on our website. And I'm moving those items. I need a second. Patty, second.
Patty, second.
Second.
I couldn't unmute myself.
Any questions about that? Any comments?
I just had 2 questions, and maybe Dr. Ripley, you could answer these. I'm just, with regards to 6 and 7, the professional development and workshop days. Are those mandatory items for the teachers, or can you explain the difference between the two?
Yeah, okay, so
I noticed the professional development are for all AP teachers. I was curious if that's mandatory for them in order to teach the AP courses.
it is not mandatory. We're not making it mandatory. It is discretionary. We would like them to, but we're not mandating it. In the past, when we sent them out for training to do an AP class, we strongly encouraged it. Number 7 is for summer workshop days. Let me give you, so if that is essentially to prepare for teaching a new course. So you get 1 day for teaching a new course that you've not taught before, or one that has been revised. We allocate 2 days for a course that has previously not existed. So that is the difference between 6 and 7. Those are workshop rates, not per diem rates, because it's curriculum work. They're not engaging students, so it does not require per diem rate of pay, but rather a workshop rate of pay, which is $150 per day.
Understood. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call.
All right. Mrs. Anderson,
Yes?
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Dr. Karaza,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Dona, Gail, she's muted.
Yes. Sorry.
Dr. Kehoe
Yes.
and Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Before we move on to the next, did everybody vote on that? I'm sorry.
Yes, it passed.
Sorry. I'm sure there are people who are listening to my update on the possible live celebration for the graduation in July. What I should have mentioned is our virtual graduation, which is the official graduation, which will be 6:30 on Thursday night, that anybody can watch, and it'll be on YouTube. And I think it's a virtual celebration, which will be on YouTube at 6:30 on Thursday night. I should have mentioned that before. I'm sorry.
Did you need to mention anything that's happening prior to the actual virtual graduation, or not really?
As far as graduation,
I thought there was an event happening.
Yes,
that
I was gonna bring that up later.
Okay, wait, let's do it later.
I only
do it
cut
later.
in now because I just talked about graduation, and if people are watching now, they think, well, that's all I wanted to hear about. He didn't talk about the virtual graduation, so I was trying to be.
Okay.
All right, if we can move on. The next area is personnel. Ms. Anderson, would you be so kind?
I will take that because poor Ms. Titona's connection isn't as clear. As Mr. Kehoe, I don't know if the rest of you heard that too. He had an alien voice on my end. It's crazy. This virtual stuff is crazy, but we're getting through it. So I'm doing the personnel area. I'm going to move items 1 through 8. 1 being that we approve the individuals listed on our sheet to work during the extended school year program beginning July 6th through July 31st, 2020. Item number 2, that we approve Mr. William Sabo as our interim business administrator, board secretary beginning July 1st for the 2021 school year. Item 3, the following substitute custodial workers for the 2021 school year is listed. Item 4, approve bus drivers listed for athletic trips from July 2020 through August 31st, 2020. Item 5, that the board approves Michael Mina as a student teacher during the first semester of the 2021 school year. Item 6, that the Board of Education approves the assignment of the following people listed for summer tutoring as a part of our credit recovery and skill remediation program that Mr. Campbell explained to us. And item 7, that the board approve verification required for advancement on guide for the following teachers as listed for the 2021 school year. And item 8, that the board reduces the position of the librarian media specialist from full-time to part-time effective July 1st, 2020 for reasons of economy. Moving items 1 through 8. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, any comments? I have something to say. I am understanding of the sadness of our budgetary situation, the fact that staffing is being cut. People are not we're not refilling positions as people are leaving, all to the detriment of the students. But the fact that we have to cut back our librarian media specialist it's devastating. It's really an important part of our literacy program at High Point. I understand it. I'm voting for it, but it breaks my heart. The more that we cut, the more that the students lose, the less they are going to be able to, their literacy issues are going to be affected. And I'm sad about that.
And our librarian media specialist is exceptional. The resources that she provides to staff and students on a daily basis, her engagement with students on a period by period basis, her passion for our students and for our district, and that complete immersion into the responsibilities of that position are great. And I echo the concerns and but the necessity. So thank you, and I just wanted to say that as well.
And I didn't even go to the actual person, but you're right. But that position is, I think, barely second to, sorry, Seamus Campbell, but our curriculum director helps with curriculum, but the librarian media specialist is amazing with curriculum, assistant resources development. So it's a hurtful cut that we're making, and I understand it. So, okay, we'll move on. Roll call?
Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Dr. Karaza,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes on 1 through 7, no on 8.
Ms. Sedona,
Yes.
And Dr. Kehoe.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to extracurricular. Extracurricular, I'm going to move items 1 through 3. Item 1 being is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education accept the resignation effective June 30th, 2020 of the following individuals. Christopher Dexter, Co-Advisor Yearbook. Leanna Henning, Co-Advisor Yearbook. Todd Danetta, Co-Advisor Fall Weight Room. Item 2, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the updated extracurricular appointments for the 2020 and 2021 school year as listed on the attachment C1. And 3, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the NJSIAA membership dues for the 2020-2021 school year in the amount of $2,500. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
On item 2, I have no problem with the changes, the additions that have been made, but in line with my previous vote last meeting, I intend to vote no on number 2.
Any other comments? Seeing no further comments, we can have a roll call.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Ankler.
He said yes.
Okay. Dr. Karaza,
Yes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes on 1 and 3, no on 2.
and Dr. Kehoe.
Yes. The next, we're going to move on to policy. Ms. Anderson, would you handle policy, please?
Yes. Moving items 1 and 2. Item 1, we are approving the revised policies, regulations, bylaws that we have been discussing as listed. And item number 2, recommended by the superintendent that we abolish 2 of the bylaws. That's it. Need a second.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call?
Ready? Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Ankler,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Dr. Karaza,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe.
Yes. The next item is negotiations. There's no items of negotiation on the agenda today. The next area is building and grounds. There's no items for building and grounds today. The next action item is finance. Mr. Dunn?
Certainly. So there's no less than 24 items under finance, so I will move 1 through 11 together. Item 1 is recommendation to accept the report of the Board Secretary Business Administrator for the month of May 2020. Item 2 is a recommendation to accept the report of the Treasurer for the month of May 2020. Item 3 is a recommendation to approve the report of transfers and minimum expense transfer report for the month of May 2020. Item 4 is a recommendation to approve for payment the attached schedule of audited bills dated June 16, 2020. Item 5 is a recommendation to accept the Adult Education Agency account, athletic account, cafeteria account, principal petty cash, and school store account for the month of May 2020. Item 6 is a recommendation to accept the athletic account, scholarship account, and student activities account for the months of March and April 2020. Item 7 is a recommendation that the board approves the schedule of tax payments for the 2020-2021 school year. And attachment G6. Item 8 is a recommendation to approve the final submission of the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Securities, otherwise known as the CARES Act, in the amount of $55,835, and upon award, accept the funding thereof. Item 9 is a recommendation that the board approves the final submission of the IDEA grant in the amount of $210,116 and upon award, accept the funding thereof. Item 10 is a recommendation to accept the following insurance proposals from School Alliance Insurance Fund broker Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services for the 2020-2021 school year. And item 11 is a recommendation that the board approves the following insurance proposals from Bollinger Specialty Group broker Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services for the 2020-2021 school year as listed. I make the motion seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion on items 1 through 11? May I have roll call, please, then?
All right. Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Dr. Carrazza,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Ms. Sedona,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
and Dr. Kehoe.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to move item 12 separately. Item 12 is a recommendation that approves the following resolution. Be it resolved that the board approves the following resolution for monies into capital reserve at the end of the 2019-2020 school year, whereas according to NJSA statutes as listed, permit a Board of Education to establish and deposit into certain reserve accounts at year end, and whereas the aforementioned statute authorized procedures under the authority of the Commissioner of Education, which permit a Board of Education to transfer unanticipated excess current revenue or unexpended appropriations into reserve accounts during the month of June by board resolution. And whereas the High Point Regional Board of Ed wishes to transfer unanticipated excess current year revenue or unexpended appropriations from the general fund into the capital reserve account at year end. And whereas the High Point Regional Board of Ed has determined that an amount not to exceed $500,000 is available for such purpose of transfer. Now therefore be it resolved by the High Point Regional Board of Ed that it hereby authorizes the district school business administrator to make this transfer consistent with all applicable laws and regulations. I make that motion seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion on item 12 resolution?
Dr. Ripley,
Yes.
it's not that we anticipate $500,000 in excess. That's just an amount put in there to cover anything that happens. Is that
Right.
correct?
That's why it says not to exceed. That is correct. We, while I would hopefully it's that much, the anticipation is, as we've discussed, likely slightly less than that.
Would it be fair to say that if we have excess that's going in there, it's a result of savings from the closing and not an incorrect estimation at the beginning of the year?
Yes, that is correct. As a matter of fact, that's an excellent question, one that I don't think that people discuss enough. And if you'll humor me for a moment, the budgetary planning process, you want to be fiscally responsible and not overtax. And I understand that people would think that that's a hypocritical statement on my part at this time. Nevertheless, you have to manage a district budget and the needs of education. And so the differences between what we've budgeted and what we've ended up with at the end of each year over the last several years is significantly less than what was formerly. And so we believe that a lesser amount at the end of the year is indicative of budgeting that is more fiscally responsible. And so the result of us ending up with anything near that would be a result of savings from having closed our doors since March 16th.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on 12? If not, may I have a roll call, please?
Surely. Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Dr. Carrazza,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn, Mr. Dunn,
That's you, Wayne.
that's
We lose him again?
all right. We'll get him in a minute. Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn? Okay. Dr. Kehoe?
Yes.
A good picture.
Well, I think Mr. Dunn
It's froze.
is
Has
frozen.
been having some connection problems this evening and is likely rebooting as we speak, and will probably come back in a couple minutes.
Okay. Well, I'll start moving.
I was just gonna say, Bill, if you wanted me, I could start moving some of those things if you
He's
want.
appearing now. He's
There
There
back.
he is. Did you vote yes?
You vote yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Technology. Okay. Was I the last then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So then, I return to my agenda. I'm going to move items 13 through 22 together. 13 is a recommendation to authorize EI Associates to submit any and all documents and applications for state and local required approvals for the High Point above ground fuel storage tank conversion project. Project is to be submitted to the New Jersey Department of Education as another capital project that will be funded in the 2020-21 budget. 14, be it resolved that the board approves the following vendors for professional services for the 2020-2021 school year as listed. 15 is a recommendation the board will not require the Willow Glen Academy in Lakeland, Andover to apply for and receive funding from the New Jersey Child Nutrition Program, nor charge students for reduced or a paid meal for any classified students from High Point Regional in accordance with NJAC as listed during the 2020-2021 school year. Item 16 is recommendation the board approves agreement between High Point Regional Board of Ed and J&B Therapy LLC to provide occupational, physical, and/or speech therapy as needed for the 2020-21 school year at the rate of $97.50 an hour. Item 17, be it resolved that the board approves an agreement between the High Point Regional High School Board of Ed and Mary Ellen Diffley to provide physical therapy as needed for 2020-2021 school year at the rate of $87 per hour. Item 18, be it resolved that the board approves a board attorney retainer agreement for the 2020-2021 school year between the High Point Regional High School Board of Ed and Bush Law Group. Item 19, be it resolved that the board approves a resolution appointing fund commissioner to the School Health Insurance Fund. And be it resolved by the High Point Regional Board of Ed that business administrator is hereby appointed as fund commissioner to the School Health Insurance Fund effective July 1st, 2020 to represent the High Point Regional Board of Ed. And be it further resolved that Fran Wenzel-Yuski is appointed as alternate fund commissioner to the School Health Insurance Fund effective July 1st, 2020. And continuing, item 20, be it resolved that the board approves an agreement with the Sussex County Educational Services Commission for ancillary educational services needed during the 2020-2021 school year. Item 21, be it resolved that the board approves an agreement between the Educational Service Commission of Morris County and the High Point Regional High School Board of Ed to provide professional support, non-public services as needed for the 2020-2021 school year. And finally, item 22 is recommendation that the board approves the purchase of computer equipment and licenses from SHI International per state contract in the amount of $159,814.88. I make the motion on those items. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on items 13 through 22? Okay, may I have a roll call?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Dr. Carrazza?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mr. Dona?
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe?
Yes.
And I will move the remaining two items together. I was going to separate them, but I see no reason for that. Item 23 is a recommendation that the board approves the following tuition contracts between High Point Regional High School as ascending district and the following districts and related information as listed. And then item 24 is a report. I guess there is this
Yeah, that doesn't have
necessary
to
to
be moved.
Okay, so we don't actually have to move item 24. 24 is just noting that the report on the June 11th, 2020 bid opening for the above ground fuel storage tank conversion project, listing the two contractors who successfully submitted bids for that work. And Aurora Environmental from Union Beach being the low bidder. So again, that is just a report. We won't need to vote on that. So may I have a second on item 23?
Second.
Any discussion on 23 or 24? Great. Roll call, please.
All right, Dr. Carrazza,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Ankcliffe,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Debbie Anderson,
Yes.
and Dr. Kehoe.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. If we will move on the next to transportation, Mr. Praza?
I'm going to move items 1 through 11 together. Item 1 being the recommendation of approval of a renewal contract for the transportation students to and from school in the 2021 school year with Havens Bus Service as listed. Item 2 is the recommended to approve a renewal contract for the transportation of students to and from school for the 2021 school year with Craft School Bus as listed. Item 3 is the recommendation to approve a renewal contract for the transportation of students to and from school for the 2021 school year with Stocker Bus Company as listed. Item 4 is the recommendation to approve a renewal contract for the transportation of students to and from school for the 2021 school year for DW Clark & Sons Incorporated as listed. Item 5 is the recommendation to approve a joint transportation agreement for the 2021 school year as listed. Item 6 is the recommendation to approve the joint transportation agreements for the Sussex Wantage routes for the 2020-21 school year as listed. Item 7 is the recommendation to approve the joint transportation agreement for Sussex Wantage for school-related activities for the 2021 school year as listed. Item 8 is the recommendation to approve a joint transportation agreement for High Point routes for the 2021 school year as listed. Item 9 is the recommendation to approve a renewal contract for the transportation of students to and from school-related activity trips for the 2021 school year as listed. Item 10 is the recommendation to approve renewal contract for the transportation of students to and from school-related athletic trips for the 2021 school year as listed. And number 11 is a recommendation to approve a renewal contract for the transportation of students to and from school-related athletic and activity trips for the 2021 school year as listed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Is there any discussion on items 1 through 11? Seeing none?
I'd like to mention something if I could. These are contracts for the transportation for the year. And I want to remind everybody to make sure we know before we vote on them that the state has passed a law last spring requiring us to pay these contracts, whether they're fulfilled or not. So if we approve these now and something happens where we go virtual either the beginning of the year or through the year, during the year, we're approving these contracts and the payment of them. So one, we want to make sure that we're going to be going back to school September 1st. And we want to make sure we want to commit this based on that new law requiring us to pay it no matter what. And hopefully the taxpayers understand it, that it's not our decision on whether to pay it or not. The state requires us to pay the contracts once we enter into them, whether we use the transportation system or not. Is that still correct, Dr. Ripley?
So yeah, let me clarify that law still is in effect. If we do approve new contracts, but school doesn't start until September, we do not have to pay them on day one or any other day until school starts. The law applies only to contracts in effect at the start of a shutdown lasting more than 3 days. So the issue with new contracts is that if we reopen and then are forced to close again in the future, we would then be in the same position with these contracts as we find ourselves currently for this year. So that hopefully that qualifies to some degree and is hopefully somewhat mitigating.
Thank you very much. Before we vote on it, I'd like to make a motion to amend this motion to approve the contracts and authorize the signature of the contracts so that we understand that we're authorizing them and signing the contracts now. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm not sure.
You can do that.
Different.
Yes, what Gail said.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
The contracts are not effective until they're signed, even though we authorize them. There's been discussions in the committee meetings again that we should not execute the contracts unless we're sure we're going back to school.
I don't think I have not been in every committee meeting, but in my committee meetings, the conversation was about making sure we have our contracts in line, because if we don't do this, if we don't set up contracts and sign them, that we may be out of luck come the time when we need to get contracted transportation and they've gone elsewhere and we've lost our opportunity. So in my committee meetings, we did not say that we didn't want to sign any contracts or put them out there in the first place. And I don't know, you've just amended the one motion, right? That's all you did was to say
Right.
that you're going to add the term that you'll sign them, but we
That's
can't
it.
really sign them right this second. I mean, so it seems like I don't know, doesn't seem to make sense. I'd like to continue what we always do.
Dr. Ripley, are you requesting these to be signed also?
Well, for them to be executed, they must be signed, yes.
Right.
Again, I just want to reiterate that if we do execute, we vote on and then sign these contracts, the only way it becomes a problem, as we've experienced in the last 3 months, is if at some future date we do not, that we open up and then close for more than 3 days. Is the only time where that becomes, where the law becomes what it is today.
Well, Scott, if I understand that correctly, if we open up in September and on October 1st, the governor shuts us down again for the school year, we're responsible for the contracts for the entire year, correct?
That would be correct.
And it would have to be for longer than a 3-day period?
That is correct.
And if we don't sign these now, are these transportation companies going to stick around? Or what is your input on that? Do you have any information on that?
So what would happen, what the likelihood would be that we would have to, they would cancel the contract, we would have to rebid. And you have to understand that transportation right now is exceedingly difficult to come by, and they would likely up the bid price that we would be placed in a position to spend more money. Now, I'm not suggesting that this is not a frustrating situation. As a matter of fact, Dr. Kehoe and I had a conversation about it, and I said, look, you have to understand, I have to be pragmatic. While I understand your position or anyone's position regarding this matter, pragmatism demands that I get the place open in September with buses available and at bus stops for kids. We would ultimately, yeah, you're right. If something happens on October 1st, we're out that money for it, the extent of how long that closure would be. Yes. I think, however, as frustrating as that may seem, the greater concern would be not having buses for our students on September 1.
Dr. Ripley, in regard to the motion that's on the table right now, do you need this extra stipulation that we are going to sign the contract, or is the initial motion enough for you to move on these transportation contracts?
To me, it's implied that when the board votes on a contract, it's implied that it will be signed. But if there's a desire to amend that's certainly a board prerogative.
So either way, whether this motion that's on the table now passes or not, if we approve the other motion, then you feel that we've given you approval to sign these contracts, yes?
No.
Yes, but the board president or vice president must sign the contracts as well.
I see. Okay. Well, I'll just say, to me, they seem the same, but if this is something that we feel that we need, it doesn't seem to hurt anything. So I'll vote for the motion. That's fine by me.
Any further conversation? Have a roll call on the motion to amend the motion?
All right. Mrs. Anderson,
No.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Dr. Carrazza,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe.
Yes. Any other conversation, Joe, on your now the amended motion?
I have nothing further. Does anyone else have any other comments regarding 1 through 11 as amended? I'd ask for a roll call, please, Fran.
All right. Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Dr. Carrazza,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
no, Dr. Kehoe.
Yes.
I believe that Ms. Tadona voted yes. Fran, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes. I said yes.
Okay.
And last but not least, item number 12, the recommendation to approve Newton Urgent Care as the CDL Drug and Alcohol Testing Facility from July 2020 to June 21. The High Point Regional High School District school bus drivers will be part of the Newton Urgent Care FMCSA consortium with other Sussex County districts, school bus drivers for CDL drug and alcohol testing purposes in order to share the costs. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Dr. Carrazza,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
and Dr. Kehoe.
Yes. Thank you. The next item is long-term planning. And there's nothing on the agenda for the long-term planning for this month. The next item is legal. Dr. Ripley, is there something that you were going to address on this?
No,
No?
there was a
Oh.
letter under correspondence that I think that's to which you're making reference.
I apologize.
That's right.
Correspondence. We have a couple items of correspondence with which to address. Would you like to address the letter to Governor Murphy first? Or would you like me to?
You certainly can if you're so
Thank you.
inclined.
Sure. We were copied on a letter dated May 28th from the Borough of Sussex, addressed to the Honorable Phil Murphy, the Governor of New Jersey, in which Sussex Borough requests Governor Murphy to look into High Point's, the Board of Education's budget for next year. They believe that it's incorrect and inconsistent with the state goals, and they would like the governor to direct the appropriate authorities to look into the budget. The Sussex County superintendent wasn't copied, the representatives were copied, the Department of Education were copied, and the newspapers were also copied, and a copy of the letter is available at the school if anybody wants to read it. I have two other letters. We received a letter from William Getler. I apologize for mispronouncing his name. He copied us on a letter that he sent to the editor of the New Jersey Herald. Mr. Getler states, "It appears to me that the socialist communists are now in total control of the state of New Jersey, including Sussex County. Dictator Murphy, by his executive orders, has totally eliminated our God-given rights that were supposed to be protected by our Constitution and its Bill of Rights. Liquor stores are essential, but religious buildings, veteran organizations, schools, libraries, bookstores, etc. aren't. New Jersey's Attorney General, who supposedly has sworn to uphold our Constitution, has apparently threatened to arrest and prosecute anybody who dares to violate Dictator Murphy's rants. The members of the state legislature were apparently just sitting on their butts, doing nothing to stop Dictator Murphy from usurping the legislature's constitutional authority. Why haven't they filed lawsuits against Dictator Murphy yet? Now, both the Sussex Wantage Regional and the High Point Regional Boards of Education have adopted transgender policies that are designed to destroy families and destroy moral standards. Under New Jersey law, how can a school official place themselves in a position of authority between a student and the student's parents or guardian? Easy. Dictator Murphy says that the school official can. Obviously, our exorbitant school taxes are being used to destroy families and moral standards. Where is the outrage? Are there no religious leaders or moral leaders left in the state of New Jersey? Sincerely, William Getler. And we have one other letter that was delivered to me. This one was delivered by the clerk, Dana Burley, clerk for the General Assembly of the state of New Jersey. And it's to notify the Board of Ed that the New Jersey General Assembly has adopted Resolution 154 and directed that the resolution be distributed to all of the parties. The resolution recognizes the extraordinary efforts of the teachers of the state of New Jersey and has declared the week of May 4th through May 8th as National Teacher Appreciation Week. The resolution is available at the school if anybody's interested in reading it. And I want to personally thank all the teachers also for the incredible efforts they did during this past couple months. That's it for the correspondence. We're into miscellaneous items.
I have a couple when the opportunity presents itself to discuss under miscellaneous.
Please do.
So earlier, Ms. Anderson had referenced something. I'd like to bring up a couple events that are going on this week under miscellaneous. One is at 3 p.m. on Thursday. We are going to have a staff wave parade in lieu of a hall parade. Seniors, every single year, we have the students and the staff line the hallways while our seniors walk through the student body and the staff, and they clap and they get cheered on their last day. It's a very touching experience for our students. And so because of some of the restrictions being lifted, we're able to have that, and it's going to be conducted in the senior parking lot while the staff are going to be on the that hill between the senior parking lot and the building. So that should be nice. The Thursday, the 18th, as I stated already, graduation will be at 6:30. Also, on Wednesday, via Google Meet, the staff retirement and service awards will be conducted at 1:30. This is typically the retirement luncheon that will now be held virtually, where we give our service awards for years of service and recognize various staff and retiring staff for whom many speeches have been made and will be prepared and will be conducted at that time. If anyone on the board is inclined to be in attendance, you're always invited. Let me know, and we'll make sure that you're invited onto the Google Meet.
Can I also speak to that retiring situation? That program is always wonderful, and it's service awards, your 10-year plaque, your 15-year plaque, your 20-year plaque, the specialty, I don't know what they call it anymore, governor's teacher of the year, all of those guys, the chair of excellence. But the retirees this year, we're all very concerned about the seniors, and my heart breaks for the seniors, because they've spent their 4 years here and they're getting robbed of that emotional closure. But the retirees have been there, one of them 36 years, and she just has to go clean out her desk quietly by herself, and there's no clap out, there's nothing. And I feel so badly for those people that have been working here for many, if not their entire professional life, and they're just disappearing into the dust. I just want to make note of that it's sad for them, and I hope they realize if it could be done any differently, it would be. The other thing I wanted to do is a cheers out to Mrs. Gonzalez's AP Research Capstone kids, who just took the bull by the horns and put their projects together without the assistance of being in the building and having the resources available to them throughout the country that they normally do to put their projects together, and then voluntarily put together video presentations. I mean, it's just amazing. It's a tribute to Heather Gonzalez. It's a tribute to those kids. It's a great program that we run, and the kids that get through it are well rewarded in future years just because they survived and did this wonderful project. So I want to say thanks to Heather Gonzalez. That's all. I'm muting now.
That is a wonderful program. High Point was either in the first 3 or 4 schools in the state to be granted as a school for AP Capstone, and it was based upon us being chosen. They didn't come. We looked into it and we presented our case for what our curriculum was, and they recognized the rigor and the breadth of our curriculum, and the fact that we offered 31 at the time AP classes. And this is major research these kids are doing. This is stuff I didn't do until I worked on my doctorate. I didn't do this working on a master's degree. And so this is great. This is a great experience for our students, and something that few New Jersey students have the opportunity to do research and work on this level. So it is something that it is a feather in our cap, I believe.
Just one thing with regards to miscellaneous, I would be remiss if I didn't point out one of our Frankfurt students, Devin Liebel, who was a senior graduating this year, was recently awarded an ROTC scholarship at Virginia Tech University. He continues that tradition of service to our nation that his 2 older brothers, all 3 of whom will be High Point graduates. They currently are serving, and Devin will continue that on an ROTC scholarship. He's been a backbone of our wrestling program. He was cross country, National Honor Society. I mean, the kid just worked his tail off and really was a tribute to the school and to his family. And I would like to congratulate not only Devin, but his parents, Stephanie and Mike. They've really raised 3 fine young men, and he really is a tribute to High Point and to Frankfurt. And I wish Devin the best of luck.
Any other miscellaneous items? Seeing no more miscellaneous items, we're going to move to public comments. At this point, anybody from the public, if wants to submit a comment, please include your name and your address. It does not have to be on agenda items, and I will read them off. So far, we have not had any from the earlier public session, and we currently don't have any yet. We'll give it a minute. If we don't get any, we'll move on to non-committee board member reports and comments. Okay. Seeing no public comments, I'm going to move on to non-committee board member reports, comments. At this point, I'd like to bring up a couple items. As we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we have the board objectives, and one of them was the training. We're finishing up the final training session in September. And over the next couple months, if we can start looking at and getting a consensus on the training for next year, we can notify our field rep and get those scheduled out. We also have to develop our district and board goals for next year. And Patty, I believe you wanted to make a comment at this point in time.
Yes, that there's a, on the NJSBA site, there's a board member self-evaluation that is already, it's already there for us to use if we choose to. And that should help set board goals for the following year. There was also a webinar that the NJSBA offered about setting board goals, which was quite interesting and enlightening. So I don't know if we need to have a workshop on that or not, but I just wanted to throw it out there that I thought these two things were helpful.
And if anybody's interested, I believe that district goals workshop might be able to be seen on, it's recorded and can be looked at on their website.
Yes.
NJSBA, if anybody's interested. And they have some good tools to use in developing the goals.
And also I was able to take a quick look at the self-evaluation, and that seemed to be helpful too. And then they also, from the one webinar, they also said that NJSBA does a policy review for no cost. So I don't know if that's something we want to consider or not. Just want to throw it out there.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Other business. Fran, can you give us an update on the Oprah request?
We didn't have many this month. Mr. Gettler asked for a copy of the minutes, and he also requested a copy of the transgender policy. And we replied within a day and sent the information to him. It took me about 15 minutes, so there really wasn't much of a cost. And that was about it this week as far as Oprah requests.
I would like to bring something up just to qualify under other business. We had Mr. Kraza had mentioned Devin Liebel and his tremendous accolades and achievements at High Point. We also have two other students entering ROTC. Olivia Westling will also be entering ROTC at Virginia Tech, and Molly Van Stone will be entering Army ROTC at Norwich University.
Thank you. And before we go to adjournment, I just want to have a special thank you to Debbie Anderson for pitching in and filling in on short notice. It's great to have a pinch hitter you can call on short notice. So we didn't intend it to be the Debbie Anderson show today, but it certainly, she does a wonderful job, and thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? See, nobody opposed. Before we adjourn, one last time. We still have no public comments, so I move to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.